Yes. Okay, so this is one of the most important steps which we are looking for to complete the system requirement specification. There are a couple of other names to it as well. I'll not dwell it on it again. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to create, trying to work as a BA, right? And for that, whatever we learned till date, we're trying to revise them. Starts with minutes of meeting. Then we'll try to understand or build the list of requirement in an Excel sheet. Then we try to build something like high-level diagram. Then we try to build use case diagram for one or at the most two requirements. Then I'll basically try to include all these things in SRS, please some additional meat, and I will see what all these additional meat we need to add to the SRS. And this completes the SRS. And after I complete the SRS, I might create a PPT so that we can present it to the team, the project manager who is going to take it from me as an in charge for this development construction project, right? And then the team get assigned to that project manager. I'll be in the advisory chair. So I keep advising them if they are doing something wrong, if they are going, in a wrong way, so that whatever we do is within the scope of the SRS. And that's why SRS is one of the most important document. Is the base for the complete development of the solution, project, services, whatever we are trying to develop here. And as a BA, we have the responsibility on our shoulder to create this SRS. Even in project management, within couple of sessions, we'll have a look at this SRS again. How this SRS is going to help the project manager. Why it's a base for the functional specification, which is a Bible for a given product, solution, or services. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's really. So let's try to understand what is SRS and how we're going to make it. This is really, crucial for a business analyst. This is crucial for every solution, every project or services we are going to create. Okay, and this is referred, as we say, it's a release, right? So whenever I complete SRS, I add in the date in the revision sheet. That's what they call a page on within the SRS where I normally mention this is the version and released to so many parties. We'll see how and how these things happen. Let's try to understand a bit about how we're going to perform this workshop. So in a BA, that is your name, you'll write in the document itself, working at Infosys with a sales manager. You can mention my name. You can mention any name for that matters. This is a workshop. We are trying to act as a BA for a certain period of this workshop. Okay. Then the client, mostly State Farm Insurance, as we keep discussing, because I think that's the solution which we have discussed a lot. If you want to take another solution, please be my guest. Only thing is that then you need to really imagine it through in terms of the list of requirement, the couple of MOMs and so on. So, okay, just have two MOMs to support you. Then you'll have one SRS, one HLD, and two use case diagrams. That's the total content what we are looking for in this big workshop. And you need to present it to everybody else so that we can discuss it. In case there are some shortcomings. Again, this is an artwork. This is not a scientific document. Well, we call it scientific and we try to concise within the templatization, but still, this is a thought process we are embedding in a document. So there could be two ways about it. There's nothing wrong or right here. There are quite a few gray areas because everybody's thought process is a bit different. The way Ravindra thinks different from the way Keshav or Kalpana thinks, right? I might use British English, you might use American English, and there are n number of ways to it. Don't feel you're wrong in any other way. Okay? We'll just discuss it in a scenario like, have you completed the BA's responsibility well? Yes. Then let's go ahead. Okay? This is not the final goal. Our final goal is to be a program manager, project manager, where we can really grab a salary of 150K plus, at least 150K plus. K is our benchmark. With the BA, you can easily cover 100K plus. But I want to go more, right? I want to do some extra things, and we'll learn in next few days how we can basically achieve the project manager, program manager chair, and be there, and basically get it 150K plus salary per year. Okay, sure. Let's walk you through this business analyst workshop. So as I told you, you need to think yourself, or you need to put into a chair of business analyst, and basically devise this document, create this document, update these documents. You can choose either the name mentioned here or whatever you like. The solution which we normally suggest is basically that same solution where I'm working as a business analyst at Infosys, and I'm building a attendance enhancement management program for State Farm, and I take it up from there. At a meeting, we discuss attendance system enhancement as depicted on the next slide. I'll show you. Then as a BA, I create minutes of meetings, at least 2 minutes of meeting. One could be initial, second could be with the executives of HRs and so on and so forth. Create system requirement specification. I'm going to share the template with you, and you're going to just fill in the blanks. Again, we are just trying to fill in the blank. You have the template for MOM. The use case diagram is basically you need to draw a diagram. You can do it with pen and paper, or you can use Lucid chart, whatever you are comfortable in, or you can use Microsoft Word as well. And then build a presentation like PPT and present this thing to everybody here, right? And we'll understand how it's to be done correctly, in the sense how I can do better. If you don't want to present, it's fine with me, but it's better to present so that we know how we perform, right? Sure. Let's check the workshop role. Yes, there are a couple of roles playing here. Sponsor or product owner. Sponsor is basically a person who usually not a workshop participant, but it does accountable for its outcome. He's a visionary, he or she, right? Then facilitator. This person institute the goals and agenda for the workshop, imposes structure and ground rules, keep activity focused on the purpose and desired outcomes, support decision making and conflict resolutions, make sure that all participants have an opportunity to be heard. Okay, this is something like me, or this is something like Scrum Master. Then BA, scribe or author, who's going to write the SRS, who is owning the SRS. This person records the decision in a format decided prior to the workshop and keep tracks of any items or issues that are postponed during the session. Timekeeper. This is again a kind of Scrum Master, or you can say a meeting holder. Timekeeper is a person who keeps track of the time spent on each agenda item during the minutes, because as we've seen, right, in Agile Scrum, everything is templatized, everything is parameterized. So even the minutes, the daily Scrum meet has a time limit of 15 minutes. We shouldn't cross that. Or we have 5 minutes buffer there, but still we don't want to use it. It is called management buffer, and we normally use that buffer in the dangerous times, in a critical times, but we normally don't use that thing. That's how we're going to work out on this workshop. Anybody have any question for me at this moment?
No.
Okay, let's take a step further. Workshop functions as a BA. What BA will do? Okay. BA is basically trying to build this document and describe an aim and desired outcomes for a given project, solution, support services. Identify key stakeholder who would participate, right? Like product owner, project executive, project manager, what all, from State Farm side, from Infosys side, and so on and so forth. Identify the facilitator and make notes. So who will be the Scrum Master? In most of the cases, the business analyst is a Scrum Master. Okay, and that's why we have another track called business analyst and Scrum Master, because he develops the agenda for the daily meeting. He develops and checks out the backlog, the progress, and everything. Decide how the outputs will be recorded. In case of if something have been created, prepared, how it's to be delivered to the client. Okay, and we discuss on that, and that will also get recorded in the minutes of meeting. Plan the session and invite the participants. We plan the daily Scrum meet. Well, it's planned in most of the scenario. In some scenario, we might plan an additional meeting as well. Okay, send the agenda and other materials to all the team members so that they are in sync. If they couldn't participate in the meeting, this thing do happen, right? Because if every day you plan a meeting, there are chances like in a couple of days or weeks, might one or two persons might be absent due to various reasons, late coming to office, early leaving or whatnot. Depending upon your timing of the scrum meet, these things do happen. So that's why we create an agenda, we create the minutes of meeting and share with everybody else. Perform the pre-workshop interview. In a scenario, we normally go and talk to various people if they have their different view on whatever we have included in the minutes of meeting or whatever already been decided. So we give them a time and hear them out in terms of why they have a difference of opinion. Might be a positive thing, might be just a noise which we might ignore, and we'll tell them it's so diplomatically. Okay. Now let's uh, let me walk you through the SRS. Okay, and let's try to understand how this SRS template is going to help us out in terms of how we going to create an SRS. It's a small 9-page document. You can skip whatever you don't you couldn't understand or you don't want to add. Okay, could you see my Microsoft Word screen?
Yes.
Okay. System software requirement specification. Again, the name can be business requirement document, system software requirement solutions, services requirement specification, and so on and so forth. Name does change as per the organizations, but more all these are the requirement specifications we are talking about. Then there's a version. Which version is approved? It can be x.x.x.x. So this could be 1.0.0.1. It's normally in the 4-digit. Okay, prepared by, there's a BA name, business analyst name, complete name, your organizations, where you're working, whenever you first created this document, right? Then we need to fill out all these chapters, not all, whatever you feel is a right content with you. A revision history. In this case, first will be whenever I my name as business analyst, date, reason for change, created template for enhancement of attendance management system, State Farm. Version, first version is draft. The next version can be released 1.0.0.1 and so on and so forth. Then distribution list. Right now, distribution list is basically done automatically by the cloud server. So this table might not present in your document, but I have kept it in case if you're emailing this document to somebody, then I'll add it over here. Like mail it to Ravindra Pande because he's going to approve, release, support, modify, suggestion, whatever he is going to do, and then the version I'll mail this document to. So this is a kind of distribution list, what they call, right? And this is what the revision sheet I'm talking about. This maintains the version, history, and repetitions of this document. Any questions so far? Simple enough?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's try to understand the introduction chapter in the SRS. Purpose. So we'll try to understand the business problem, why this solution, services, project have been triggered. Like in case of State Farm, they have their challenge in their manual attendance system. So I might write a couple of lines in terms of whenever the employee comes, there will be a supervisor who is checking the identity and let him or her sign against his or her name, and so on and so forth. So that, and then I'll also add a couple of pitfalls, like sometimes if supervisor is not watching, the employee can sign in a couple of other boxes as well, so that to mark the presentee, and this is what we call proxy presentees. So I need to basically cover all these pitfalls in the manual attendance system. Then I want to make it centralized. I want to make it available 24/7, and so on. So I want it to be an automatic rather than with the manual efforts. So I'll include these things here. Then document conventions. What type of documents are we following? Like SRS is a Word document. Okay. Then the priorities or high level requirement or HLD I can include here, where basically gives a clear idea of how does it signify as far as solution conceptualization. And then I'll have a couple of statements in terms of how this SRS has been built and refer to the MOMs. I'll include the MOMs in the traceability as well, right? So in the list of requirement, I'll build the traceability, but here I'm just trying to address the main part, how this document is going to solve the problems or why this document is intended for. Intended audience and reading suggestion. Most of the organizations have these intended audience because they want to restrict the distribution of such crucial document, because these might have the trade secret, these might have their process maps and everything as well, so they want to restrict these things. So I'll include in some scenario where who are the intended audience and why, and their reading suggestions also. I'll also mention here, this document have been released at so and so cloud space. So it will be a kind of HTTP and some number where this document resides in an updated format. So wherever whoever sees this document might know, like the updated version can be on a website at a so and so given, but he or she might not have the credential. So unless he or she has a credential, he or she couldn't get the updated version. And that's how we restrict the distribution of these things. Okay. Then project scope. Here I'm trying to address what all included in this project. So benefit, objective, goals, all the related software, all the dependencies have been covered, and some long-term strategic product vision in case of a product. And I'll include it here. And here, basically, as I have depicted in my document convention, the high-level diagram, I include all the other things which are not shown there can be included in the project scope. And then I have list of requirement. This is just a cut copy paste because I'm creating a list of requirement from the MOM in an Excel sheet, right? So I'll just copy the Excel sheet and paste it over here. As simple as that. Or you can create a table and collect the list of requirements within this document as well. It's your choice. As an basically, you are the author, you are the owner of this document. Then high-level diagram with any references as need. As we have included the high-level diagram in document conventions, if I have missed anything specifically, I'll add it over here, or I can add another version of high-level diagram if I want to. Because there are certain times, there are some requirements by a team to have certain, infrastructure material added to the high-level diagram, like the cloud service provider name version, the database company, or the name of the product like Oracle, Sybase, big data, and this data, that you need to mention it over here, and any reference in terms of their website, their vendor websites, and the procurement details, etc. Okay, then there are these references. In case of additional references, I need to provide, like if you're talking at Oracle, if you're talking at Philips, Sony, these are the salesperson who are assigned to us as an organization. So I'll add those references over here. Okay, there could be some documents as in course which we have received from them, their website addresses, and so on and so forth. So I'll add it over here. Then I'm now concentrating on the product solution or support. Here we'll have product perspective. Again, it's a kind of history why we are developing this product, why we are building this product. So I'll add a couple of lines here, which will basically guide me how painful was the scenario at a State Farm before we have system them an automated cloud-based enhancement attendance management system. Then product features. Try to jot down a couple of features which we have mentioned in the HLD. On the left-hand side, I have problems. On the right-hand side, I have features. So I'll basically add those features here. So it's again a kind of cut copy paste. And then if you can describe each feature in 1 or 2 lines. If you can't, don't worry. That's also okay. Then you have use case diagram. In use case diagram, as we already discussed, if any requirement is critical and we couldn't complete everything within HLD, we might add, we might develop a use case for that requirement and try to furnish the detail required from sir for those kind of critical, requirements. So it's a use case diagram as per the need. There could be 1 or 2 use case diagram depending upon your company policies, depending upon the project manager requirement as well. We can add into use case diagram even after project kickoff meeting as well. Then operating environment. Here, sometimes some organizations might have these things, or some organizations might don't have 2.4. So what is operating environment? Are we going to use Windows? Are we going to use Unix, Linux, Ubuntu, and various other operating system? Is it supporting iPhone? Is it supporting Android phone, smartphone, non-smartphone, and so on and so forth? So depending upon your solution, services, and product, these things do differ. And depending upon your organizations you are working in, there are a couple of additions or subtraction from SRS as well. So we need to basically come up, with this different thought process or understanding how this product, to be envisaged, right? How that product is to be envisioned, how that product is to be imagined in terms of operating environment, in terms of design implementation constraint. Like we discussed in a state farm scenario, we have to integrate it with the SAP installed in a state farm, because the SAP has the employee attendance data prior to our system, prior to our automated system. So we need to collect that data, because that data have the older leave records and all those things, right? So that type of design implementation constraint has to be added here. If they have some particular, software which is to be integrated, I'll add it up over here. And this is again a scenario-based considerations. User documentation. Now, whoever is going to use this automated enhanced attendance management system, I might add a couple of guidelines here. Like if you have fingerprint sensor, we need to make sure the fingerprint sensor is clean, because whenever you put your finger there, your finger might be oily from a sweat. It might be frosty in winter from the sweat again. So we might need to clean the fingerprint sensor quite often, as in like after 10 finger swipe and so on and so forth. In iris scanner, we don't need that, because iris scanner, you don't touch anything physically, right? Of course, that eye bracket you touch, but that doesn't make that difference. The scanner is deep inside the pocket, so it's not get disturbed with the cold or a heat. So that's a good thing about iris scanner. And something like these things we also include in our user documentation. Okay, so that these are the guidance for the users. And whatever training material is to be created in the FRS or the separate document, it can be based on this user document, where this is a kind of start as a training to the users who are going to use this system. Okay, then assumption and dependency. What type of things have you assumed in terms of implementing this solution? So we can assume everybody knows English, so that whatever training material you created is readable and understood by them. This system needs some sort of a wear and tear or care of cleaning, of making sure it's working fine. So you need to wait till the beep sounds so that you can remove your finger or eye, and so on and so forth. All these type of instructions you can include in assumptions and dependencies. If you can think of any additional assumptions and dependencies, that can be added here. And there is a big chapter of assumptions and dependencies in the FRS, and we're going to have a look at them whenever we work as a project manager, and I'll be happy to guide you on that as well. So this is an evolving chapter basically for any product, services, or support. Then the third one is one of the most crucial chapter: project, services, solution, features. So we list down all the features, right? So what it's going to do is going to help every employee in a state farm to make sure the attendance is automated and the process is completed within 4 or 5 seconds or a 10 second at the max. So you just approach the attendance system, put your finger or iris scanner as the system have been devised, and then the attendance get notified. Now the system basically come back to you with a beep, and it mentions your name. So when Ravindra Pande puts his iris to iris scanner or a finger to fingerprint scanner, there's an LCD down there which normally beeps. Well, there's a the beep is come from the instrument, and the LCD shows Ravindra Pande noted, or Ravindra Pande attendance marked, or Ravindra Pande and the time 9:30 p.m. something like that sort. So here it reflects if the correct attendance has been notified. Okay, and so on and so forth. All such type of features are basically mentioned in clarity. And we do have description and priority, a response sequence. Like in case if the beep doesn't sound, where to go, whom to contact, you might go to the receptions and notify the receptions. When I try to do this, it just shows some different name. And in addition to that, I couldn't get my attendance mark, right? So those scenarios. And then what all if there are some challenges, like the receptions might, want to have a look at your photo ID. So give him or her the photo ID, and then that reception notes your attendance on him or her register, and then gets updated by the system. This happens only during office hours. What if you mark your attendance and it's not getting recorded in non-office hours? Whom to report to, how to report to, and all those things has to be mentioned here in case of exceptions. Okay, and there are some scenario, like if the scenario have come across as an exceptions, how these things to be tackled. So in all other scenarios, we can say something like to be decided, and then the project manager or the designer or the architect basically add his or her own way of requirements or a functional what you can say evolutions, and then mark it. So these are functional requirements normally made by the architects and design, but the functional requirement which have came here are basically a simple business requirement we are talking about. They're called functional requirement because it gives them a relevant reference. Okay, does that make sense, or am I going too fast? You could understand this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Who all can feel they can fill in these blanks? Anybody? Anybody who are sure that they can do this? Whatever we are discussing right now,
No, it's clear.
it's clear, right? So you could be, able to do this thing. That's really great to know, man. Good. But yeah, this is a kind of, overall what I say a need, or kind of, what you can say requirement of the time, where we are trying to understand which is the best, way or simplest way to complete our SRS. Okay, let me take you to the next chapter. It's called external interface requirement. As we discussed about SAP, right? So SAP. So whenever you are trying to integrate any external system, so you need to collect other details as well. And this is what we can say collecting external requirements. So these external requirements are basically, if you're going to integrate with SAP, whom to coordinate in terms of state farms, executive, I'll mention it over here, the SAP version, and so on and so forth. So all these, things were mentioned here. Some of the companies have these things on the shoulder of BA itself. Some organizations might have these shoulder to some different, person like designer, architect as well, because there are a bit of technicality involved in this external interface requirement. Okay, so you can skip this part as of now. Whenever we're going to work on, the actually project management planning, we'll have a look at this thing again. So don't worry on this part. Okay, you can skip the chapter 4. You can skip the chapter 5 as well. But if you can, do add other non-functional requirement. Let me reiterate. What is non-functional requirement? Which are not feature list. Let's talk about that. Like the user login should be completed within so many seconds. Within 10 seconds, the user should be able to log into the system. It's a requirement. Is it a functional requirement? You can call it, but it's normally called as a non-functional requirement because it's more towards the performance requirement. So this is how we can include this performance requirement in non-functional scenarios. Again, does it depends on things? Yes, this depends on various things like the hardware we need to build, because every hardware, whatever we add for a speed of a solution has some, extra charges, right? The cost gets increased. So in that scenario, we need to justify these costs with these performance requirement. And then there are safety requirements. If there are certain wires lying around or wires which are being, plugged in and out frequently, we need to mention here in terms of safety requirements. Then security requirements. Security requirement in scenario like nobody should steal that fingerprint sensor or ID scanner, right? These things do happen. If you put it outside the gate, normally they have put it inside the gate, inside the compound, so nobody basically have access to such systems. They are normally attached to the near the door, where whenever you put your finger or eye scanner, the door opens. So even the physical entry is restricted in this scenario, plus the attendance is marked. So we are trying to solve quite a many problem with just one instrument. But yes, there are some security concerns. If somebody disturbs these things, right? Somebody tried to bypass the wire and blah, blah thing. So we need to consider these things as well. So the wires should be concealed. Instrument should be, covered with some protective gear so that nobody should be able to tamper with the instrument. So I'll include all the safety and security requirements here. Then software quality attributes. If you are following something like CMM level 5Y, ISO level 2000, ISO level 9800, something, I'll mention here. And all the precautions and the rules I need to follow, I'll include it in here in the software quality attributes. If you are not sure, please ignore these things. If you know something about quality, policies, you can write here. Or you can update these things whenever we do quality management knowledge area in our project management, capsules. Any other requirements? Even if you missed anything, like somebody say, somebody told you, "Mera wala green. I want the fingerprint scanner with the color green or with this shade of green." These things do happen in life. So I'll mention it here and clearly mention that we can't address in this phase. We might try to address that in the next phase. And these things do happen. You don't have to say no because we are talking to very senior people, right? So for that matters, I'll try to diplomatically mention these requirements, move to phase 2 or move to latter stage. If you don't know the phase and phase out kind of scenario, just mention to be taken on priority in a latter stages of this solution. So this is a kind of diplomatic way of putting it. Okay, you can ignore these things if you don't think of any such things, right? And then there are some glossaries. So anything which basically something like any interpretations, any acronyms you used which you want to mention here. You might add the email IDs which sending these mails so that the users can mark them in non-spam email and those kind of scenario. Then what are the analysis models you use, right? Have you used sort diagrams? Have you used fishbone diagrams, class diagram, data flow diagrams? You'll mention it here just to make sure the user understand the SRS in depth. In case the users are not so tech savvy, you might need to guide them to the necessary tutorials as well, so that those guys can refer to this tutorial, and then you don't have to teach them anything on over the phone or over the training, and they can have a look at these tutorials and then read those diagrams, whatever you mentioned. Same thing applies for the use case diagram as well. Issue list. What type of issue list have we already collected? If there are issues like there are delays in approvals, so we need to proactively mention here there are some delays we have came across for approving such documentation process. This might delay the start of the project or so on and so forth. Whatever is being affected due to these issues. So I'll mention it over here. Okay. This concludes the SRS. Okay. I'm just going to share this document after our session so that you can go through it. If you have any other question, please feel free to ask me via WhatsApp, and then I'll try to solve all your questions, queries, issues, and then we'll basically go on making this SRS. Take a week from today is 27th, right? So let's come back and meet on 4th of May or 5th of May, where we'll try to understand how the SRS is being shaping up. Again, I'm not going to force you out. It's your responsibility to showcase this SRS. And then the next stage will be to create a PPT presentation. If you know, please do so. Otherwise, I'll guide you out. There's nothing like, end of the world. We are going to work together for the next 6-7 months. So don't worry on that part. Okay, we'll get there one way or the other. Okay. Anybody have any questions as of now?
No.
Okay. And I'm going to share the presentation as well with you so that you know what are things to be included, what are the things we have discussed. I'll just go to presentations again and try to find out if I missed anything. Okay. And this presentation also include a list of functionalities because I believe there could be some challenges, right? And these gives a list of functionality for a student attendance management system and some employee attendance management system. So this was a system which is there for a university attendance management system kind of scenario. So have a look at that and you basically get an idea of how functionality listing can be done. Even if you don't, you can mark it blank. Don't worry. Whatever you think is confusing, don't add it up. And we'll discuss and then we'll decide if it's that crucial. We'll try to go over with the relevant tool set or relevant presentation slides, and then I'll guide you how to add them. So don't worry in case if you think it's confusing you in terms of adding it to the SRS. Okay. So could we start project management now? Are we ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let